Welcome to my next video. In this video, we will talk about a practical guide to being a better investor. This video is part of a 6-part series of videos on how to be a better investor. I highly recommend that before you take any actions based on this video alone, you first check out all the videos in the series. But first, what I say in this video is based upon my education, my life experiences, and my set of values. What I say is for typical people in typical situations. It is not for all people in all situations. If it was, this video would be hours or even days long. My goal and hope is that by the end of this video, you will know more about how to invest so that you can make better decisions in your life. If you want to be a better investor, one of the first questions you need to ask yourself is when you will need the money that you're going to invest. If the answer is 3 years or less, your investment decision is pretty easy. I highly recommend that you consider investing money that you're going to need in 3 years or less, 100% in cash. Cash is safe. Cash is stable. You'll not make much, if anything, on your investment in cash. But when you need the money, it's going to be there. And the value of your investment will not have gone down. You'll still have all the money you originally invested, plus a little bit of interest. If you need the money in more than 3 years, I highly recommend that you consider different asset allocations and what investment risk and what historical investment return goes along with those asset allocations. Try to figure out what makes the most sense for you. The asset allocation you choose does not have to be complicated. It's fine to start out with an asset allocation of cash, bonds, and stocks. As the amount you're investing goes up, you may want to consider slicing and dicing those broad asset categories into smaller pieces. You also may want to consider adding additional asset categories. I recommend that you first focus in on what investment risk you are honestly comfortable with. After you decide what investment risk you are honestly comfortable with, then you can focus in on how much investment return you typically get for taking that investment risk. Every once in a while when you do this, something great happens. You end up with enough investment return to get you to where you want to be. You're done. That's pretty rare. Normally what happens is when you focus on the investment return is not enough to get you to where you want to be. What then? Well, then you have a tough decision to make. But you are the best person in the world to make that tough decision. Nobody really understands your situation as well as you do. Nobody really understands how you really feel about investment risk and investment return as well as you do. Your choices are you can take more investment risk than you're really comfortable with, or you can accept a lower investment return and probably not end up where you originally wanted to be. Once you've decided what your asset allocation is, you can just buy that asset allocation by buying passively managed, no-load, low-cost mutual funds or ETFs from any reputable low-cost brokerages. Reputable low-cost brokerages include outfits like Vanguard, VANGUARD, Fidelity, FIDELITY, Charles Schwab, CHARLES, SCHWAB, and many others. Many times these brokerages have information and tests on their website that you can use to help you select your asset allocation. If you do take one of these tests, please remember that most of us, most of the time, do not like risk. And try to answer the questions as honestly as you can. These brokerages also have information on specific mutual funds or ETFs that you can buy to actually buy your asset allocation. Finally, at least once a year, you need to go back and do the whole thing all over again. See if you need to change anything. When do you need the money? What asset allocation makes sense for you? What trade-off between investment risk and investment return makes sense for you? And finally, what mutual funds or ETFs should you buy to get to your asset allocation? Also, at least once a year or so, you need to rebalance your investments. Rebalancing is getting your asset allocation back to where you want it to be. For example, if you decide your asset allocation should be 60% stocks and 40% bonds, and that's the way it was at the beginning of the year, by the time the end of the year comes, it'll probably be a little off from where you want it to be. When you rebalance, you sell the asset category you have too much of, and with the money from that sale, you buy the asset category you have too little of. After you do this, your asset allocation should be back the way you want it to be. Now, one additional thing you may want to consider when you're investing money for your retirement. That is a kind of mutual fund or ETF that is known as a target date or life cycle fund. These funds are specifically designed for people who want to invest their money for retirement at a certain year. Normally, these funds have the year of the retirement in the name of the fund. So, for example, the 2050 fund would be for people who plan to retire in the year 2050. The target date funds make their own asset allocation decisions and automatically change this asset allocation as the retirement year gets closer. If you do decide to buy a target date fund, remember to look for a fund with no loads and low operating costs. If you are interested in a specific target date fund, it would also make sense for you to investigate what the asset allocation of that fund is. Ask yourself if the fund's asset allocation and investment risk and probable investment return makes sense for you. If you decide you want more investment risk and presumably more investment return, you can choose a fund with a year after the year you really plan on retiring. So if you really planned on retiring in the year 2050 and you wanted more investment return and more investment risk, you could choose a fund with the year 2060 in it. Similarly, if you decided you wanted less investment risk and presumably less investment return, you can choose a fund with a year before the year you really plan on retiring. So if you really planned on retiring in the year 2050 and you wanted less investment return and less investment risk, you could choose a fund with the year 2040 in it. In this video, we learn more about a practical guide to being a better investor. This video is the 6th video in a 6-part series of videos on how to be a better investor. If you want to learn more, be sure to check out the other videos in this series and my other videos on many other topics. Until the next video, always remember that you are the best person in the world to decide what is important in your life. Thank you for watching. Please click the button to subscribe. I hope that you got something from this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and comment. Please check out my channel, playlists, and other videos. Have a great day.